Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're digging into something, well, kind of different. The surprising power of working in silence.
Yeah, letting your results do the talking, basically.
Exactly, our source material. It's from excerpts of a YouTube audiobook transcript. It's called Never Tell People What You Do, Focus in Silence, Win in Public.
And it makes a really strong case, doesn't it? That talking about your plans, before they happen, it can actually hold you back.
It champions that quiet, consistent action instead.
Yeah.
That's the real engine of success, according to this.
So our mission here is to really unpack that, pull out the key insights, because it pushes back against, well, a lot of what you see online, right? Constant updates, goal sharing.
Totally, and the core idea it throws out there is pretty provocative. The most powerful move you'll ever make. It's the one nobody sees coming.
Right. It's this stark contrast. We tend to talk about goals, share every little bit of progress, sometimes even before we've earned it.
Yeah, like celebrating the starting line.
And this source just says, nope, that's not what builds things. The real building, that happens in the quiet work.
So let's get into the why. What's the fundamental problem, according to this source, with broadcasting your intentions all the time?
Well, the source is pretty direct about it. Talking is easy. Declaring you're going to do something costs nothing.
Right.
But it gives you this fake feeling of progress, like a quick hit of confidence. Makes you feel like you're already on your way, even if you haven't actually, done anything concrete yet.
So it's like you get the emotional reward up front just from the talking.
Precisely. You get that little dopamine hit of achievement, and then, well, maybe the actual drive to do the hard work kind of fizzles out.
Interesting.
The source draws a really sharp line between just talking and actually doing, and maybe even more, between performing for others.
Performing?
Yeah, like putting on a show of productivity versus actually producing real, tangible results. The trap is you end up spending way more time talking about the thing than, doing the thing.
And chasing that validation, the likes, the you go comments, that just feeds the performance beast, doesn't it?
It really does. The source argues that constantly looking for that external pat on the back keeps you stuck, needing permission, needing approval. And that just, well, it slows down your actual focus.
Okay.
You start caring more about how it looks from the outside than the messy, real process of making progress inside. You end up trading genuine progress for performance.
Okay, so if talking and performing are the traps, what's the alternative? Where does this source say we should start? What's the big shift?
The starting point is internal. It's quiet. The core idea is close your mouth and get serious about your life.
Sounds intense.
It's not about becoming a hermit, though. It's presented more as this personal decision point, a moment where you just decide, okay, I'm done wasting energy on talk without action. It's a commitment you make purely to yourself.
A commitment that doesn't need anyone else's okay. No cheerleaders required.
Exactly. The source really hammers this home. You absolutely do not need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need applause. What you need is focus. That internal focus and a solid commitment to the work. The power is in deciding that for yourself.
So the real strength isn't external, it's something you build internally.
Yeah.
In that quiet space.
That's the heart of it. Silence, in this view, isn't empty. It's like potential energy waiting. It holds this quiet power, this strength that grows when nobody's looking.
Right.
The source is crystal clear. You don't grow by telling, you grow by doing. Real growth. It comes from the action, from being honest with yourself, from the consistent work, not from making noise or trying to look like you're further ahead than you are. It's about breaking free from needing everyone else to sign off on your path.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And building on that internal commitment, that power of silence.
Yeah.
The source gets really practical with this idea. Build your habits without telling anyone about them.
Yeah, and this definitely pushes against a lot of common advice, the whole tell everyone for accountability thing.
Right, put it out there so you feel obligated.
But this source argues the opposite. Keeping your habit building private actually keeps your focus razor sharp. And maybe more importantly, it keeps your effort honest. You're doing it for you, for the growth itself, not for the applause.
So how does announcing it too early mess things up, according to this view?
Well, think about it. You say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. People say, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, you get instant positive feedback.
Exactly. You get that little rush, that unearned reward we talked about.
Yeah.
You feel good about the idea of doing it. And then sometimes the actual motivation to drag yourself out of bed when the alarm goes off, it just kind of evaporates.
Because you already got the pat on the back.
Pretty much. And it also, opens the floodgates. People give opinions. Maybe they distract you. Maybe they judge if you slip up. It just adds noise. You can end up worrying more about keeping up the appearance of the habit for others than actually locking it in for yourself, how it feels internally.
So the real transformation happens in that quiet repetition, day in, day out. The daily grind in the parts of your day no one sees.
Yes, that's where the source says it happens. It gives examples, like consistently getting up early but not posting about it, reading books without listing them online, sticking to your schedule privately.
Not sharing your workout plan, maybe, or changing your diet without a big announcement, quietly saving money.
Exactly, those kinds of things. These are battles you fight and win internally. And doing that, the source argues, builds this really deep self-respect, self-trust.
That feeling of knowing you showed up, even when literally nobody else knew or cared, that validation must feel solid, different.
It's presented as way more robust, more sustainable than any confidence you get from external praise, because it's built on actual proof of your commitment, not just talking about it.
Which flows right into the next big idea, daily action. The source really pushes this. Take action daily and say nothing about it.
Yeah, this is where it gets down to the core difference, isn't it? Between people who genuinely really want it and those who are maybe more comfortable just talking about wanting it. It's that quiet, persistent, sometimes, let's be honest, kind of boring daily action that actually stacks up over time. That's what builds the results.
So it's not about the big flashy moments. It's the quiet, steady, boring, honest work done daily. I like that phrasing.
Me too. And the source argues you just don't need the fanfare. No cheering crowds, no constant updates in the group chat. The accountability that really sticks, it comes from inside, from that decision to show up for yourself every single day, whether anyone's watching or not.
And that includes showing up even when you don't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
Tired, stressed, busy, just plain bored.
That's the absolute crucible, yeah. The source points out something pretty compelling about consistency too. It says, look, even just 1 hour of focused work every day, that adds up to over 350 hours in a year. That's easily enough time, it argues, to fundamentally change your life. But only if that hour becomes a quiet, non-negotiable habit.
Wow, yeah.
And the feeling of maintaining that discipline in this view, it feels way better than the regret of just talking or waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Just start.
Okay, but while you're doing all this quiet work, the world outside doesn't just go silent, right? The source also gets into handling that external noise and maybe internal struggles too. Stuff like stay focused on your path and ignore opinions, and even handle your struggles alone.
Right, because the world is noisy. It's full of opinions. People will question what you're doing, maybe doubt it, or just plain not get it because it's not their path.
And trying to explain yourself or convince everyone.
It's just a massive energy drain. That's the point. All that energy you spend justifying yourself to skeptics or arguing with critics, that's energy you're not putting into the actual work.
So it's about strategically choosing where your focus goes.
Absolutely. The source's take is pretty clear. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't even need most people to. What's critical is that you understand yourself, that you know why you're doing what you're doing. Wasting precious energy trying to get buy-in from people who aren't on your journey, it's just counterproductive.
Okay, and how does that connect to handling struggles alone?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty tough, maybe even isolating.
It does sound tough, yeah. And the source isn't necessarily saying you should, suffer in total silence or never ask for help, ever.
Okay.
It's more about developing resilience, finding strength within yourself first, facing difficulties head on, relying primarily on your own grit and resourcefulness rather than immediately looking outward for sympathy or rescue. The argument is that the deepest lessons, the ones that really build character and toughness, they often come from navigating those challenges yourself, from figuring it out.
So it's less about secrecy and more about choosing strength over seeking sympathy, maybe. Using the struggle as fuel.
Exactly. Learning to use setbacks or pain as fuel for growth, rather than just a reason to stop or pass the problem off. It's about building that internal muscle, that capacity to overcome things yourself, which of course makes you way more resilient for whatever comes next.
So let's pull it all together. You've embraced the silence, you've committed internally, you're building habits privately, taking that quiet daily action, tuning out the noise, facing challenges head on. What's the payoff? What's the end game according to this source?
The payoff is when you reach the point where you can simply let your results show what you've been doing. It's when you win big without announcing a single move.
The results become the announcement.
Precisely. The argument is, people don't really remember your grand plans or your declarations of intent nearly as much as they remember what you actually finished, what you actually built.
So real substantial success doesn't need the hype machine.
Nope. It's built quietly, brick by brick, day by day, through that focused, silent effort. And the source loops back to that idea of the unearned reward again.
right? Announcing goals gives you attention before you've done the work.
which actually undermines the discipline needed to get the work done. So winning in silence means the reward, first and foremost, is internal. You're chasing your own standard, meeting your own commitments, not just fishing for likes or approval.
That internal validation again.
Exactly. And the results, the things you build in that quiet, focused way, eventually they just become undeniable. They speak volumes all on their own. They command respect, not because you demanded it with announcements, but because you earned it through consistent, quiet action.
There's a real humility in that, isn't there? And maybe a strategic edge, too.
Definitely both. When people don't know every detail of what you're working on, they can't really interfere, can they? They can't sow doubt or distract you intentionally or not. Your silence kind of protects the process.
Keeps you grounded.
Yeah. Allows you to stay focused on the building itself. And ultimately, the source suggests the biggest win isn't even just the outcome, like the finished project or the achieved goal. It's the person you become through that whole process, through the quiet discipline, the focus, the resilience built without needing all the fanfare.
Okay, wow. So let's try to wrap this deep dive up. If you had to boil down the absolute core takeaways from this source about the power of silence,
Yeah.
what would they be?
I think the main thing is this. Talking is often a trap. It feels productive, but it isn't. The real power, it's in the quiet, consistent doing.
Right, and building habits privately, taking daily action without broadcasting it, that sharpens your focus, keeps the effort honest.
Exactly. And then there's ignoring the external noise, the opinions, and learning to handle your own struggles internally first that builds serious resilience, deep strength.
And eventually you'll let the results, the transformation itself, be the only announcement needed.
That's the essence of it. That mantra from the source really says it all. Focus in silence, win in public. It's a call to shift your energy, away from seeking validation, towards building something real internally through quiet, dedicated action.
It definitely makes you think about your own habits, doesn't it? How often do you reach for that quick satisfaction of talking about a goal versus just quietly starting the work?
Yeah, it's a challenging question, and maybe this deep dive leaves us all with this final thought to chew on. What if the most meaningful life you're meant to build? What if it genuinely doesn't need a single announcement up front? No validation from anyone but yourself.
What silent step, however small, will you commit to today?